I've got a little bit of time to talk to you about electronic addiction. Hottest kind of ticket going on out there now. I appreciate you guys coming out in the cold. So I thought what we do is we do a little TED Talk action and a little discussion between the people that are here. So, and I'd also like to give you a choice. I can either do theories on kids with electronic addiction or magic dust that actually works. Your guys' choice. What would you like? Alright, if you want the dust, you guys have to participate. But one of the things I found was a big problem with kids with electronics, and electronics have really changed. By the way, does anybody know the #1 highest grossing video game of 2018? Fortnite. That was good. Everybody knows that, right? Alright, how much money did Fortnite make? $3 billion. $3 billion. Excellent. How'd you know that?
I listened to you on the radio.
Oh, you listened to the radio. How did I do on the radio? Was that okay or not?
Everything was great.
Yeah, so $3 billion, right? So what's the problem with that? You know, the kids don't even have to pay for Fortnite, so where are they spending money at? V-Bucks. V-Bucks. So how many guys have your credit card linked to the system where the kid can spend money? How many guys have gotten burned already on the kid spending money on your credit card? Yes, that's a big common problem now. Start off with this question to the group. So here's a question. What issues do you see with electronics and kids nowadays? All right, so 30 seconds with your teammates. What's the changes you see with electronics and kids from when we were kids? All right. Okay, so what do you see different with kids and electronics today?
One parent commented about the trauma that ensues when trying to take away an electronic device, that it would be easier to amputate a limb than it would be to try to limit screen time or take away a device when it is in use.
So one of the girls I work with, she's 12 years old, and she was doing inappropriate stuff on the phone, like texting bad stuff to friends and stuff. And so the parents did follow what I said, and they got her a flip phone. Oh, she was like, you should have seen her face when she got a flip phone. She goes, I cannot have a flip phone. I'm like, oh, yes, you can. Well, what if there's an emergency? I go, flip the phone. Right, flip the phone. All right, what else do you guys see?
Another parent comments on the anger that they see from their child, even when they haven't been playing a video game. The anger that surrounds the issue of electronics has become a big problem.
So do you think that kids that play violent video games are more angry kids? What do y'all think? Are the games programmed to get you addicted? What do y'all think about that? Yeah, right. So every 3 to 5 seconds you're reinforced by a video game. Imagine going to school, what that must be like. That's like a bad Charlie Brown episode. Anybody else? What else you guys seeing?
Another parent commented about the use of chat rooms on Xbox Live, and even the use of headphones in order to hide inappropriate conversations that their children might be having.
Yeah, how many guys have listened in to Xbox Live chat and things like that? And it is pretty rank type stuff, right? A lot of problem is your kid, you don't know who your kid is talking to. Who's old and remembers like one phone in the kitchen? And you had a cord that you hope stretched long enough around the wall that your parents couldn't hear you. Does anybody else remember that or not? Yeah, now your kid can be on the phone and you have no idea who they're talking to. They're on the internet, you have no idea who they're talking to. It's a very different world out there. Okay, what other challenges are you guys seeing?
A mom comments that she notices a real lack of kids knowing what kid things are because they're using tablets and technology at younger and younger ages.
Yeah, so there's no more bubbles in Play-Doh. Research says, believe this or not, kids are losing their language ability. Kids have less vocabulary now because they have games that talk to them rather than they actually talk. Would you buy that or not? Yes. Kids are overweight more because they're not playing. Yeah, and kid stuff is, so I run 15 different social skills groups in my office and I ask kids what they want for Christmas. Barely any kids were asking for anything other than electronics. Also, certain kids are more susceptible. Kids on the spectrum are more susceptible to certain games. Does anybody know the #1 game kids on the spectrum play? Roblox would be #2. Minecraft would be #1. Anybody got kids on the spectrum? Yeah, so if you've got kids on the spectrum, who's got kids diagnosed as Asperger's? They got rid of Asperger's, so they're cured now. Yeah, no, actually they made it into autism, mild, moderate, severe. So I'm starting hashtag bring back Asperger's. And the new diagnosis is going to be criteria A will be I play Minecraft all day. And criteria B will be when I'm not allowed to play Minecraft, I'm on YouTube watching other kids play Minecraft. Which is really weird, right? So that's the new thing. There was another hand over there. What else are you seeing? Yeah.
Another mom noticed that their child was getting up in the middle of the night to play electronics.
How many guys collect phones at night? Okay, phones, iPads, things like that. You put them away. Why? Yeah, you don't want them out on them, right? How many guys put them in the kitchen or somewhere where you know where they are? So one of my kids the other day, this was really cool. His mom takes his iPad. So he took the iPad out of the case, plugged the charger into the case, put it upside down so she couldn't see it, and took the iPad up to the room. What do you think about that? That's a creative little sucker. What do you think? Yeah, that's creativity at its best.
One dad noticed how demanding his child was becoming when it came to electronic devices. Once he misplaced the tablet, and his son had an air of privilege and assumed that he was owed the tablet.
So this kid's in my office and he's being disrespectful to me, and his mom says, if you keep being disrespectful, you lost your video games for a day. He goes, fine, take them. Because I'll just take your stuff and break it. Anybody got a kid like this? So then she goes, if you keep being disrespectful, you're going to lose them for 2 days. And he goes, fine, take them because I'll just get a phone from somebody else at school. And why don't I wait in the lobby for a while you work with Dr. Berk on your parenting skills? Then he said, and if you touch me on the way home in the car, then I'll call the county on you myself. Now, how many guys, think about this, would have thought to call the children's services on your parents? What would your mom have done if you called children's services on your parents? So I think kids being more demanding. Did you hear the story in South Euclid? If we get to it, I'll show you the clip on it. The girl that called 911 to report that her parents stole her phone. This is true, South Euclid. Did you guys follow this on the internet or not? Yeah, she reported the police came out and she said that her parents stole her phone. Parents had taken away her phone because she was misbehaving, and she felt that they had no right to do that and involved the whole police department in South Euclid.
What did the police do?
What did the police do? What should they have done, or what did they do?
What did they do?
Well, they told her that it was actually her parents' phone, but there's a whole debate about that going on right now. Yeah, kids think they own the phones.
Yeah.
Right. How many guys know how to shut off your kid's phone? Right? Because that's important. How many guys know how to check their history? How many people know if they have no history, you've got a problem? How many guys are married? How many people know how to check your spouse's history? And if they got no history, you better be talking to a counselor. Yeah, so if they're hiding stuff. All right, anybody else? Other stuff you see with kids? Yeah.
A mom noticed a severe case of isolation with their child, having friends that were only online, but no friends that were actually in real life friends.
I think who's got kids that'll be like, I got friends. I got one that lives in Florida, one that lives in California. I don't need regular friends, right? And what I found in my practice, which I think is important to realize, is that kids that are more susceptible to gaming addiction have social skill deficits. Okay, so it's akin to the sense of, people can be drink alcohol and not be an alcoholic, but when it interferes in your day, kids have a precipitating event or something that's causing them to be more electronically addicted. So kids on the spectrum, who had kids on the spectrum again? Okay, what's enticing to them about the internet? You can also do your high interest area. So those kids have a high interest area. My favorite kid I work with right now that's a spectrum kid that's entertaining is Squid Kid. He's 9 years old. He knows everything there is to know about squids. And there's not a lot of squids in Cleveland, Ohio. So when he gets home, what do you think he wants to do? Get on the internet and find what? Would you believe there's a squid chat room? Yeah, so they find their niche in there. Okay, there was another hand up in the corner up there somewhere. Social deficits, there's somebody else high up on the left. Anybody else? What else you seeing? So bullying is a big part of it. So what you have, what you don't, who remembers getting bullied as a kid? Okay, you left school and what happened?
Got to fight.
Yeah, got in a fight, it was over with after that, but now it goes on and on and on. And kids can post stuff, and it doesn't have to be real. They can make up a website about somebody, they can post something, they can create accounts about people. Kids are making bad choices a lot and don't understand the ramifications of the bullying thing. Especially teenage girls can be pretty evil with this. So they'll post on Instagram, we're all at the mall, and we want to shoot a picture of us here and just show you that you're not here. So there's that way to do that. Anybody else? Anybody else want to say anything else you're seeing?
One mom noticed that it has been hard for sports teams at her son's school to be filled because kids are too busy using their electronics.
So do you know that colleges are giving scholarships for esports now? Yeah, so that's the new thing, electronic sports. So moving forward, let's do a little bit more. What issues do you see? So one you mentioned already was social. So a lot of the kids have social issues. If you have social anxiety or social awkward behavior, it's easier on the internet. Rage and getting off games, that's a problem. Oppositional behavior, inappropriate material. So kids are getting into inappropriate stuff earlier. Would you guys agree with this? Yes. So how many of you guys, your kid goes to school and they give them a laptop or iPad or something like that? And if they're in middle school and they go, and don't go on something bad, what's the odds of that? Right. So inappropriate material, we'll talk more about that in a little bit. Bullying, you guys got. Sexting, nobody mentioned sexting. So one of the cases I have is a girl who was missed 2 months of school. She said to her parents that she was afraid to attend school. She had a lot of anxiety. She wanted to go on K-12, do homeschool. And turns out, after I'm talking to her for a while, she did the boob shot to her boyfriend. And they were in love, spelled L-U-S-T, love. And they broke up, and he swore he would never show these pictures to anybody. And then he airdropped them in the cafeteria. Do you guys know about airdropping or not? Who's got an iPhone? I could airdrop you something right now if you want. So he can get in trouble for what? Distributing child porn, right. Mean comments to other people. And what about lack of sleep? So why are kids missing sleep? They're playing games. What else? They're wired, right. They're wired up. And the light, the blue light, keeps you up at night. So how many of you guys have an iPhone? Do you know you have a setting that you can turn off the blue light?
Yes.
Why do they do that? So your parents can't see the blue light coming underneath your door at night. Yeah, but it actually is supposed to change things so that you are not so stimulated. Okay, so life has changed since we were kids. So a lot of kids are lacking social skills, so that's why the internet and internet addiction is a bigger deal. Who remembers a bike like this? Who's old enough to remember a banana bike? Anybody? Date yourselves right now. All right. So who remembers going outside? All right. 30 seconds with your teammates. What were some rules you learned playing outside with other kids? Rules you learned playing outside. All right. What were some things you learned playing outside?
Come home at dark.
All right. Street lights came on, you came home.
Sharing.
Okay, who remembers sharing? Okay, well, kids don't know how to share anymore. Because every kid's got their own iPad, their own iPhone, their own everything. They haven't learned to share. That's a big problem. What if you didn't share in the neighborhood? They threw you out of the game. Who remembers this? Who ran the games? Kids, the biggest kid. And if you argued with the biggest kid, what happened? They beat the crap out of you. Unless you had an older brother or sister bigger than the bigger kid. Anybody remember that? All right, what else did you learn playing outside? Right, kids don't use your imagination anymore. The greatest time ever was when your mom or dad got a refrigerator or a stove. Who remembers this? You got a box until it rained, then it was bad. Yeah, and you used your imagination, and that was great. Kids aren't using their imagination like they used to. So I'm running my group a couple weeks ago, and I had a 6th grader and a 3rd grader in my social skills group. And we were running races, and I said to the 6th grader, give the 3rd grader a head start. And he said to me, why should I do that? I go, because you're in 6th grade, he's in 3rd. He goes, well, he'll be in 6th grade at some point. So who remembers handicapping games? Like you let little kids shoot closer, let them run. So kids don't know those rules, so they have trouble playing with other kids. They're missing the social skills that we have. Okay, who remembers the Vegas rule of the neighborhood? I grew up in University Heights. We're playing baseball in the middle of the street. Anybody grew up where there's street sewers, rain sewers?
Yeah.
All right, so that we only have one baseball, and the kid hits the baseball, and it goes down the rain sewer, and it's floating on top of the water. So I say it can't be that heavy. So one kid has a younger brother who's younger than the other kids, and we're going to lower him down by his feet. Anybody got, I remember being 10, you get these great ideas, right? So, you know the rain grates, they lift with a crane, but we got it up in the air. And one kid lets go, and it starts a chain reaction, everybody lets go, and it drops into the hole. So then there's a hole in the road. All right, you guys all remember being kids? What do? Run, baby. Then there's a kid with a conscience going, there's a hole in the road, and I'm like, run. So we all got together and told our parents we just happened to find a hole in the road. Anybody remember stuff you told your parents? Yeah. So you learn stuff. Also, the neighborhood watched out for other people. Who remembers when the neighbor's parents could discipline you? Yes. Right? So I was over at Barry Katz's house, and his mom smacked him, then she smacked me, and I went home and told my mom, Barry Katz's mom smacked me. She's like, what'd you do? Yeah. Right? How many of you guys would discipline the neighbor's kid now? People don't even know the neighbors anymore. You don't even know the neighbors, right? That's changed. And I think that another thing that's changed in the neighborhood, we played outside. Who was worried about getting kidnapped? Right? Did you even know there were kidnappers when we were kids? So kids are more anxious. How many parents here are a little leery about sending their kids outside to play out in the street and stuff? Right? So I think parents are more leery about it, but we didn't know about people that were kidnappers. But we knew if people weren't appropriate for the neighborhood. And one kid I grew up with, I swear, if the kidnappers took him, they'd bring him back. Does anybody remember growing up with kids like that? Any other rules for the neighborhood that you learned? Taking turns. And if you didn't take turns, people didn't play with you. Right? What else? What was our conflict resolution? Rock, paper, scissors. All right, who's old? All right, who remembers this? If you're out safe in kickball, and you couldn't decide if you're out or safe, you could call a do-over. Excellent. Who remembers do-overs? So I had this 13-year-old kid in my office, and I'm like, he's got electronics addiction issues, and he never played any games. And I'm like, when you get out there, he's arguing with kids. I said, just call it do-over. He goes, what's a do-over? I go, you're 13, you never heard of do-over? No, so I had to explain it. So then 2 weeks later, his parents bring him back. I go, what's going on? He's getting in trouble in school. I go, why? Because he's calling do-over like 15 times a day. Like, you only get one do-over, dude. So that's the way it goes. So this is an interesting statistic. 9% of kids that fail out of college report their fail out is due to video game addiction. Yeah, so a lot of kids, the key is as parents, what you have to do is you have to get the kid to manage their own electronics. Now let me start with this for a sec. So if you think about an eating disorder as opposed to alcoholism, people have an alcohol problem, they can't go to a bar, they don't drink at all, good plan. But an eating disorder, you can't not eat. And in today's world, kids can't not have electronics. So instead of managing for them, it's teaching kids to manage themselves. That's the key to tonight's talk. If they don't learn to manage themselves, you manage for them, they grow up, they have a problem, and they never learn to balance it. That's an important thing. So we'll talk more about that in a second. The number one highest grossing video game in 2018 was Fortnite. Okay, $3 billion. What is it that keeps people playing that game? Okay, 30 seconds with their teammates. Why do kids get sucked into those games? All right, yell me out some stuff. What do you think it is?
It's never ending.
Okay, it's never ending because, when you say, all right, I'll be down after I finish this game, it never ends, right? That's a very important difference. So teaching kids to set limits, timers, things like that. Now, what I say to parents is to have the kids set their own timer. If they can't get off when the timer goes off, then they lose the game the next day. Now, here's what's important. To prevent the blow-ups, it's giving the kid the perspective of control. Okay, because they'll say, you took away my games. Now, this is important to think about. What I'm presenting the kid is, if you get off when the timer goes off, you're keeping the game, you're making a choice. If you don't get off, you're losing the game, your choice. Okay, perspective of control. It's a very important concept that we're talking about tonight. Because if not, who's heard the battle? You're taking my games, or you're taking my stuff. Has everybody heard this? Yep. Okay, so I want to teach them to manage themselves, and I want them to understand that they're making that choice. What else is a problem with Fortnite and games like that? It is different, right? So it's going to give me more of an endorphin rush. So rule number 2 is I got to teach the kid to get endorphin rushes other ways. Okay, they do stimulate endorphins in your brain. It's similar to drugs. So what are some other ways to get a high other than playing video games? Exercise. Sports. Board games. Get good at board games. So having kids, what will happen is if you've got a kid with an electronic addiction issue, you will see them start to reduce other activities that they do. They solely start concentrating on the electronics. So getting a balance is the next tip I can give you. If they start losing their balance, it's a problem. So I do a thing called pay to play. Pay to play is an important concept. The idea is you get an hour of electronics a day. If you exercise for an hour, you get an extra hour of electronics. If you volunteer for an hour, you get an extra hour. Pay to play is another way to balance things out for kids. So it helps and it makes sense. So talking relatives about not giving the kids some of these electronics is important too, because sometimes the grandparents will give in. So best thing I saw on the internet, best gift ever, when your grandparents misunderstood what you want for Christmas and they give the kid an iPad. You guys get it or not? Isn't that great? It's an iPad. I thought that was great, little suckers, man. All right, also child's play. So kids used to play outside. Now if you said to your mom, I'm going to spend the day in the house, unless it was 0 degrees, how many people remember your mom was like, wrong? Yeah. Right? So making sure kids go outside. Volunteering is really good, getting them experiences. But I do want to talk about games of the past versus games now. So who remembers the original video games? Old people. Who remembers the original video games? Pong, baby. Who remembers that? Pong. Okay, what was the objective of Pong? Ooh, ooh, ooh. Right? How many balls did you get in Pong?
1.
No. 3. You died 3 times. Pong versus games kids play now. Give me differences that you see. Okay, 30 seconds with your TED Talk teammate. Now, what do you guys see? Graphics are way better. Hey, who knows the new game out there that's going to supplant Fortnite? Red Dead Redemption 2. Who's played this? Yeah, so you're a bad cowboy in the Old West. It's Grand Theft Auto and you get to murder people, pick up prostitutes in the saloon, you know, just good stuff like that. So the graphics in this thing are incredible. I was playing with my son the other day. He's home from college, he's 21, and he had roommates that I swear never came out of the dark. They were vampires. But the graphics are incredible. What else is different? Right, so you got 5 kids playing in 5 basements, right, that are interacting with each other, but they're never in the same place. Right, Pong, you can invite somebody over. Right, we had to take turns. Also, there were no extra things you could buy for Pong. It was 25 cents. Right, there were no cheat codes in Pong. Does anybody remember that or not? The only thing I learned is if you put a little string on the quarter and you dropped it just enough right and dropped it and pulled it back up, you could get free Pong. But I grew up in Cleveland Heights, so what can you say? Yeah. So it was that was the trick to the game. So in Pong, that was another key is that you had to play with somebody Now, you had 3 guys and you died. The games now are limitless in terms of time. It's almost like a gambling casino. You kind of lose track of time. Research is now showing that kids that have electronic addictions are more likely to have gambling problems. Would you buy that or not?
Yeah.
Yes, so that's key too. Anybody else? Game differences? Accessories, like buying stuff like what? Right, so kids want, and they want skins. They want to look cool in games. So do not link your credit card because the kid will use your credit card. That's another tip. Skins, one of my kids, the kid bought a skin and then he got grandma's credit card number and bought a LeBron James Cavs jersey. I'm like, dude, LeBron James Cavs jersey is going to get sent to the house. Your parents are going to figure that out. Your grandma probably would have never figured out what a skin is. How many guys would have stole your grandma's credit card numbers? How many guys your grandma didn't even have credit card numbers? Yeah. Okay, let's also talk about inappropriate content. So porn. Who's into porn? Alright, so what's the difference between porn kids can get into today and porn when we were kids? Because porn was around. Sears catalog, baby, women's underwear edition. Alright, who remembers getting your hands on the National Geographic? You were like the best known kid on the street. Alright, so what's the difference between that and porn kids are getting into today? 30 seconds with your partner, you get to talk about porn. Alright, who's got a comment about porn? Yeah, you could be like going, hey, this seminar sucks from Dr. Berk. I'm going to hop on some porn real quick. You could be on porn on your phone right now, right? Alright, yeah, free internet. I don't know. Do you think they screen for porn here or not?
Yes.
Do you know kids know their way around all that screening? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So, Squid Kid, who's in 3rd grade, told me how to get around the school's screening system for bad stuff. 3rd grade. Then his mom shut off the router at the house at night, so he found a program that unscrambled the neighbor's router so he could get on the neighbor's router. Okay, surprise y'all, ready? Older kids on the bus.
Yeah, that's true.
The most unsupervised place on the planet. Unsupervised place. Alright, so also what's changing too from electronics is what kids want to do in the future. So why go to school when you can do other things? What's the hottest thing kids want to do right now? YouTuber. Can you make money as a YouTuber? Alright, who are kids following?
Ninja.
Alright, who's heard of Jake and Paul? No? Who's heard of Ryan's Reviews? Ryan's Reviews. So Ryan reviews toys. So if any of you want to quit your job, you made $22 million last year doing Ryan's Reviews of toys, which is pretty amazing. Anybody got little kids watching Ryan's Reviews? Walmart now is doing Ryan's Review toys. Does Target have it too?
Yeah.
Is that crazy or what? Kids are 10 steps ahead of their parents on technology. So how many guys have asked your kid how to do certain things? Right? Maybe you get a PowerPoint for work and you got to ask your kid how to get it to fade or to do something in PowerPoint. Okay, Facebook population is 4 times that of the United States. Would you buy that or not? How many guys are friends with your kid on Facebook? How many people realize kids don't use Facebook anymore? It's for old people.
Yeah.
What do they use now instead?
Instagram.
Snapchat. 40 million users are on Instagram. Facebook's for old people. Yeah. Snapchat is used 30 million times per day. This is where the bullying happens. Kids do pictures. More girls than boys on Snapchat. Do you guys believe that or not?
Yes.
Yeah. Bullying going on online. Research says 80% of teenage kids have seen somebody bullied online. And that's some pretty evil stuff. What about sending pictures? What percent do you think of kids have sent pictures or received pictures? High or low? High, yeah. So latest research, which I think is low, 20% of teens have sent or received nude photos. Teaching kids about this digital footprint. So one thing that I want to share with you as parents is they need to lobby the schools to get rid of regular health class, because kids know where babies come from in first grade now, and start teaching kids digital citizenship. Digital citizenship is things like if you're at a party, somebody's smoking pot or drinking beer, and you're not even involved in it, but you're in the background in the picture, you got a problem. Every kid's got a camera in their pocket. That's a different world. Once you put something on the internet, what happens to it? Okay, what if it's on Snapchat and it erases? It's still somewhere, right? And they don't really realize that. 47 or 67% of teenagers know how to hide online activities. How many guys know the apps that kids hide? They're fake apps in their phones. What do they look like? Calculators. Yeah. So if you look on the internet, they'll show you that top left one. It looks like the kid has a calculator. It's actually an app where they're hiding information. So the World Health Organization just came up with a diagnosis of electronic gaming addiction. It's not recognized in the U.S. yet, so that's a problem. But look at this list. See if your kid checks off on this list. Constantly thinking about games. Who's got a kid like that? That's about half the group. Withdrawal symptoms, acting out when you pull the games. Who's got a kid that does that? Okay, needing to play more and more. Right? Okay, loss of other interests or hobbies. Click on that. Use despite negative consequences. Their grades are dropping. They're having trouble with that. Being deceptive about their amount of use. Yes. Escaping negative moods. Impacting school or other relationships. So that's what the World Health Organization said. Signs of an issue are extreme issues when needing to stop, no balance in activity, all their friends become cyber, up at night, school grade issues, finding like peers. What does that mean? Well, one of the things is if your kid's depressed, they can find other depressed kids. You guys heard of rage quitting? That's where the kids whipping the controllers and stuff when they lose. Stealing to pay for mods and inappropriate material that they're on there about. So elements of the problem that you really need to be aware of, and then I'll cover some more tips. Okay, there's a predisposition for certain kids. Now, not all kids that play games are addicted. I said this on NPR. Some guy called in and was like, well, my kid reads a bunch of books. Could you have a book addiction? Did you hear that question or not? That wasn't you that called that question in, was it? Yeah, so...
I only listen, I don't have time.
You only listen, yeah. So, all right, so basically the idea is it's causing a problem in their life. All right, so number one is there's a predisposition with social issues. They have social anxiety, they have autism, they have trouble interacting with people. So the first thing that we do in treatment at my office is we have a social skills group for kids. Why? Because if you don't work on the social issues, it's a problem. Now, there are residential treatment centers in the world for people with electronic addiction. What country has the biggest collection of residential treatment centers for kids? No. South Korea. First thing they do is take the kid and give them 2 weeks of detox, no electronics. And then they teach them to play games again, play water balloons, to chase, games that kids haven't played. So building the social is the problem. If your kids lost their social skills or didn't have them, that's the first thing that we want to work on. Accompanying mental health issues like depression or anxiety. This is dangerous because depressed kids find other depressed kids. Anxious kids find other anxious kids. Cutter kids find other cutter kids. Anybody remember when we were kids, did you know anybody who cut? I mean, it was kind of like, but now on the internet it's a big thing. Escape from something. So escaping by going on the internet. There's some type of challenge they're trying to avoid. I think that's important. They're looking for measurable progress. Now this is key. What they found is that these games, you get ranked higher, you want to know how you compare to your friends. Who knows what I'm talking about right now? So they get their sense of achievement from that. So as parents, you have to get them to get a sense of achievement off other things. Volunteering, sports, getting a job. Who remembers a paper route? Anybody remember a paper route? Well, how'd you achieve off doing a paper route? You actually made a few bucks. Anybody remember? And then you had your own money. All right, trauma. Now, if I had more time to talk, I'd talk about this, but a lot of traumatized kids seek the internet for safety. The problem is, as parents, you need to teach them that just because it's on the internet does not make it real. Okay? And they believe everything hook, line, and sinker. So that's a problem because for traumatized kids, they're seeking an outlet for help, and they're looking in all the wrong places for that. All right, so some tips I want to share with you. One is getting them an assessment for underlying issues that might be there. Existing depression, existing anxiety. So getting at the underlying reason that they are having the problem. They are also starting to find that if your family has a predisposition to some type of addiction, that they can fall into this quicker. So that kind of makes sense. If there's alcoholism or drug addiction already in the family, that can be related to it. Okay, next tip I can give you. What are they escaping from? So are they being bullied? Are they having school failure issues? I'll make a comment about this. A lot of my kids that come into the office, they have undiagnosed learning problems. They're having problems at school. You'd rather be a behavior problem than stupid and avoid the issues at school. So they'll get on the internet and find other people like that. So diagnosing a learning problem. Does anybody have kids with learning disabilities or challenges or stuff? So that can be really challenging. Or if they have language issues like apraxia, things like that, that's part of the problem. So it's finding the pain that they're having. Family issues. So I have kids that escape because the parents are arguing in the house. The family, they escape from that. And poor social media choices. And that's, I think, getting the kid used to what's good media, what's bad media out there. All right, social isolation, we want to keep them away from that. What are some groups that allow all kids to join? What are some groups that take in more quirky kids? Boy Scouts, yes. Martial arts. Marching band. If you want to find the biggest collection of quirky kids, go to marching band. And actually, it's a really accepting group of kids. How about drama club? Yeah. Now, a tip I can give you, I want to give you, make sure you leave here with a lot of tips, is sometimes the kid is so anxious that they're not going to go join. Maybe they draw well, but they're afraid to go do the scenery for the play. So what I need is for the parent to call the school and say, can you have drama guy ask my kid to help with the scenery rather than waiting for the kid to go to drama guy. Does that make sense? So if they get invited in, they're more likely to be less lonely of kids. Okay, just so we know that it's not all that bad, 1/3 of people getting married now are meeting on websites, dating websites. Could you buy that? Yeah. That's pretty intense. So one of my other kids was like, yeah, this girl wants to hook up with me, so we're going to be friends. So getting them to learn the lingo. What does hook up mean? Does that mean you're going to be my friend? No. So the kid was on, I'll give you a hint, swipe right, swipe left. What is he on? Tinder. What is Tinder? Find a hookup, and a hookup has not got anything to do with fishing. Right, this kid was naive and did not know that that was just to get laid. Are the people who they say they are teaching kids this? So one of my guys who's 22, he has autism, and he was having trouble finding a girlfriend that he wanted. He finally met a girlfriend, and he goes, oh, I date her, and I go, that's cool. And I go, where do you go? He goes, it's not like that. So every Friday night he goes out with her, but he lives in Ohio and she lives in Mexico. He doesn't speak much English, she doesn't speak much Spanish, she doesn't speak much English. But they date. So they've been dating for a while, and I said, how do you know it's a girl? And he said, I saw a picture of her. So a lot of naivety of kids. Turns out she was actually a girl, and then they started forming a relationship, and she asked him to fly her up here for a visit. So the kid says, I want her to stay at the house. Would you let her stay at the house? No. Then he goes, then I'm going to go to a hotel with her. Then you go, I don't know if that's better or worse. Then the parents were worried that she was going to get pregnant from him and try to get citizenship, because he would be clueless for that, because he's easily worked up. So this may be the last time you see me speak, because I'm closing my practice, because I'm sponsoring a prince from Nigeria. Did anybody get that email or not? Yeah, for $100 I'm sponsoring a prince from Nigeria. He's going to give me $1 million. I emailed the guy back and go, if I give you 200, will you give me 2 million? So that's not a bad thing. Also teaching kids about phishing for information, because kids will give out where they're supposed to be, who they are, things like that, that they need to learn not to do. So the other day my secretary's like, hey Jay, we got this email, our system got compromised, I have to send them our password. I'm like, whoa, no. How many of you guys have got a phishing email? Yeah, so people send that. And meeting other people. So promoting social skills helps. Being in a social skills group. Not learning but using the skills. If your kid is at school having social problems, ask the school to do a push-in model. Now I wish I had more time to speak, but let me give you a short on this. In our alternative education program, one of the problems you see is if the speech therapist pulls your kid out for social skills and then sends them into school, they don't use the skills they learn. Getting the therapist to go into the setting is more likely going to work. This is out of California. So if your kid, how many people have a kid with an IEP? Anybody have a kid with an IEP? If they have an IEP, you can write this into the IEP. The school will hate you, but it actually works better, just joking. All right. So a couple other things so we can get some questions. Pay to play. So remember, if the kid exercises or does things, then they get more time. Volunteering. Okay, finding the right groups. Band and scouts you already had. Setting limits on times of games. By the way, does anybody remember these games? Frogger? Yeah. Duck Hunt? What other games do you remember? Pac-Man. Tetris, yeah. So setting times, but again I want to emphasize having the kids stick to their own limited time. If I'm always managing the kids' limits, they're not learning to manage themselves. Have preset consequences. I'm going to say it again. Prearrange it and make it into a contract. If you don't make it into a contract, there's an argument later. Okay, have the kid sign the contract, you sign the contract, and it gets rid of the fighting, because it gets rid of you took my video games.
A mom asks, how much time is an okay amount of screen time?
Yeah, so I think that the time should change depending on what the kid's doing. Like if it's negative 50 outside, the kid's not going out to play. But all kids that would sit for 12 hours on a video game, which is ridiculous. I say 2 hours a day is about the max that kids should have, if you're asking me. But my running joke is if you gave kids a feeding tube and a diaper, they wouldn't get up. All right, so the blue light we already talked about. Pre-teaching skills. Okay, this is really important stuff. What is a friend? So there's a difference between a friend I know on the internet, an acquaintance friend, and a friend friend. Okay, a friend I know on the internet is not coming over to my house. An acquaintance friend is a kid I know at school but hasn't been over to my house. A friend friend, I've been to Cedar Point with them. What will happen is kids start losing their friends. Okay, now if you're a kid nowadays, let's just say a teenage kid, how many friends do you have? Kids who you've been to their house, they've been to your house.
Nowadays?
When we were kids, how many kids did you have? Not kids you knew, but kids you actually hung out with. 4 or 5, right. Kids are losing that. What not to say online is important to pre-teach kids. All is not as it seems. Texting rules. One of the things that I find is kids will text stuff that they normally would not say to a kid's face. Okay, how many of you guys here have ever written an email and sat on it for a day and gone, good thing I didn't send that? Okay, the problem with texting is it goes right out there. It's a problem. Now, positive thing for cell phones. Who's got high school kids? Okay, an escape code. So if they're at a party or in an uncomfortable situation, I suggest the parents have a code that they know. The kid texts you that code. You will come pick them up, no questions asked. Okay, because if they feel you're going to ask questions, it's a problem. Okay, so they have to feel safe that you're not going to ask them questions. That's the code. Know by technology, read and get consults on technology itself. Who knows what Circle is? Right, so there's filtering software out there now that you can get. How many people have your kids' passwords? Okay, if the kid won't give you the password, there's a problem with that. That's an issue. Also, he said to check history. So you want to check history of where they've been, what they've done. If they're erasing their history, that's a problem. You can still get it if you know how to go about that, because they probably don't know how to fully erase it. It's in the catch. And watch for the gamer talk. Kids were really pretty ripe on the gamer talk. Okay. Now, there's a thing that I want to teach kids too. Not everything you hear is real. So a lot of kids, what happens is they believe other people's lives are so much better than theirs. Okay, so like a lot of people, who's on Facebook? So you notice people only put good stuff on Facebook. They'll be like, our daughter got accepted full ride to Harvard. They don't put their sons in drug rehab. Right, so people are involved with losing that. Involving when they're very young into play dates, hangouts, and volunteering early on makes a difference. Who's gone out to dinner and seen a family not talk to each other? So I'll tell you a funny story. I went out to the hibachi place. You guys know what the hibachi place is? So as a therapist, it's a really weird thing when you go out in the community. So I go in the hibachi place, and it happens I get seated next to my clients. Okay, that's a little weird, right? What do y'all think? All right, so the kid played on his phone the entire hibachi time. Now, if you go to the hibachi place, half the fun of the hibachi place is the stuff they do, right? Who's had shrimp thrown at you, and, you know, they light stuff on fire. And so I was talking to parents afterwards, and they said, you know, I bet you thought we were bad parents. And I go, I'm not making a judgment. But they said, if we don't give him his phone, we can't go out to dinner. That brings me to the next point. Do not be held hostage by your kid. So what we want to do is we want to make sure we don't get in a situation where the kid has that much power. We also want to get them a sense of accomplishment in their life. What else are they doing that they feel good about? Kids have gotten away from wilderness, hiking. There's indoor climbing. There's all kinds of stuff that kids can do nowadays. Volunteering, one of my favorite places is on 306 Rescue Village. Does anybody know that place? It's an animal shelter. So they just started a program where kids come and read to the animals so that the animals are used to people's voices. What do you think about that? Is that cool or what? So they're looking, we want to see progress and stopping the amount of time. If the kid, some of the kids that I see, we need to do a cold turkey. They're off the electronics for weeks or months because they can't manage the electronics. There are some kids that can do a balance on it. There are some kids that you actually have to stop the electronics. If you have an iPhone too, you can monitor it. How many people have an iPhone and seen this on your screen? This will tell you, are you surprised sometimes by how much time you actually used? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Who knows about the Tide Pod Challenge? Same sort of thing. So I call living with a terrorist. When your kid gets bigger, if you don't set limits when they're smaller, they will get bigger than you, and you're going to have a problem. They start to get destructive. They will retaliate. They start chasing parents around the house. The kid will get physical, and it impacts the siblings in the house. So there has to be rules about where you will tolerate things. What I tell parents is if the kid's going to get physical, take the games out of the house. Take them to work, get them out of the house, Sadly, I have to tell parents to lock up their own stuff. This one kid said, if you take my games, I'll smash the dishes Grandma gave you that were Mom's prized possession. So sometimes you've got to do that too. The book's out there for sale. I'll take questions in a minute, but a couple things I want to highlight from the book. So one thing is that kids don't want to look stuff up anymore and challenge. Did you see on the internet now kids are asking Alexa to do their homework? Do your kids do that or not?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's the way it goes. One of my chapters in the book is called Why is the Sky Blue? And it dawned on me that when we were kids, you had to look stuff up. Now I could just ask Alexa why the sky's blue, and it'll tell me. Who remembers the Encyclopedia Britannica? Who remembers if your mom had enough green stamps, you go, I hope I got the S, because if not, I'm in trouble. That's a problem. So there's a lot more hints in there. So let me stop so I have time for questions. Do people have questions they want to ask? Yeah.
A dad asks if there's any connection between violence in video games and violence in children.
They're doing research on it now. One of the things is that kids that play violent video games tend to be more violent kids. But the flip is, are they more violent kids and then they choose to play more violent video games? So one of the things that I see is when we played Frogger and Pac-Man, you weren't that character, was a character. Now in these games, you are the character that you're playing. Does that make sense?
A mom asks, how do you find that happy medium between letting kids just enjoy electronics and keeping them from becoming addicted to the electronics?
Yeah, so most kids aren't addicted. You're teaching them the balance first. So the place to start is with younger kids first and setting balance and limits. Okay, so it's keeping them healthy with other activities. Are you doing that? Yeah. Okay, number 2 is pre-setting times that they stay to. That's another thing that I would do. And involving them in healthy activities around the family, with the family modeling like board games or things like that. If you're doing that, your likelihood of ending up with a kid that's addicted is much less so. Okay, a better balanced kid because you're modeling those behaviors. Can I do one more question? There was one more question up top. I knew there was another question, yeah.
One dad asks, what do you do when you are limiting screen time at home, but then that means that your child has nothing to relate to when it comes to socializing with friends that do get screen time?
So one thing I recommend, and it's something to really think about, because how many of you guys did different stuff when you were a kid? Think about I went skiing at Boston Mills or doing stuff like that. Most of the things that I got introduced to were through my friends. So if your kid is into something, getting them to ask a kid to join them in it, because a lot of kids haven't done some things like rollerblade, roller skate, ice skate, go to Boston Mills, do those things. So it's introducing those activities to his friends that he might have stuff to do with. The other is I teach kids to be able to fake it till you make it, know enough about Fortnite to be able to handle the discussion, and then change the topic to something different. Because you can be at the table and you can kind of fake your way through it enough and then switch the topic over. Good. There was one last question. There was one right there. Last question.
A dad expressed that he'd noticed that his child would have emotional outbursts a little bit later after limiting screen time, and asked for some tips for how to help a child emotionally regulate themselves when they're feeling dysregulated from lack of screen time.
Yeah, that's a real good thing. So what I do is there's a thing called mindfulness. You could look it up on the internet. Mindfulness is what a lot of therapists do now, but if you look it up on the internet, mindfulness, that people can spend time doing a little bit of mindfulness exercises, and it kind of resets your brain. They know that from research, and it's a good thing for her to do. The second that I would suggest sort of seriously is that a lot of kids start to need to be educated about that it's bleeding over. Okay, and for example, what's the difference between anger and rage? Anger is appropriate for the situation. I'm angry at the situation. Rage is old stored up stuff. So what she's doing is displacing that. So a lot of kids aren't familiar with handling their emotions. So teaching her to recognize that would be one. Mindfulness would be the second one I would do. And then some calming activity that just kind of resets your brain. Yeah, the other thing I would suggest is you can get a consult for an OT, that sensory things that kids can do. So a lot of sensory stuff calms kids down. Squeeze toys work really well. That's something that you can physically do. Fidget spinners I hate. The next kid that comes with a fidget spinner I'm going to kill. Do you guys hate fidget spinners or not? Yeah. But there's a lot of calming stuff. Another thing that's really calming for kids is that kinetic sand. Have y'all seen this, that magic sand? So getting them something, slime gets in your carpet, but magic sand's pretty good. Thank you for coming.